All right, I think we're good to go at this point. Andre,
Yeah.
do you want to kick it off?
Yeah. Hi, folks. My name is Andre Champagne. I'm Carbon60's product manager of cloud security. It's great to have everyone here on the call today. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, we are here to talk about managed security, specifically Arctic Wolf's product, which is managed security awareness. Um, and of course, we are here with Udi Sella. He's the senior systems engineer. And on that note, Udi, introduce yourself.
Hey, Udi Sela. I am the systems engineer responsible for Southwestern Ontario. I've been with Arctic Wolf for a little over a year, about 20 somewhat years of IT experience, racking and stacking the stuff,
Responsible for
architecting, and doing everything else.
for a little over a year, 20 somewhat years of IT experience.
Yeah, so really happy to be here. Today we'll be touching on Arctic Wolf and how we kind of work together with Carbon60. Very excited to be talking to you today. Let's go right into what it is that we'll be doing. So we'll be covering a little bit of information about the companies themselves, how we do things, what we do, how we differentiate from kind of the rest of the market. There's a lot of noise out there. We'll talk about the problem of social engineering in general, and then the solution to it. How do we get around all of these kind of problems that we're seeing within the environment? We'll talk about the Arctic Wolf difference of how do we differentiate and how do we do things in a way that is effective. And then we'll see how we kind of go through it, how we get started, what are we doing in order to make things better for you. We'll go through a quick demo. And again, throughout the presentation, if you do have any questions, if you do have any concerns, feel free to put them in the question box, and we will be able to get to them during the question session. Now, to start off, we're going to start off with some polling questions, and we'll kind of visit the answers that you guys have given us. So if you take a look at your interface, you will see some polling questions shortly, and you'll be able to kind of click through it, and we'll kind of see what you guys answered. So here we go. The first polling question is, how confident are you that your employees will not fall for a phishing attack? Option number one, not at all. Somewhat confident, very confident. And the best part is my company will never, ever, ever, ever be breached due to the human element. So go ahead and put in those answers, and we will visit those shortly. I see that you guys have started submitting.
And just a
I'm
note,
going.
please, no one answer the last. Do not click the last bullet.
So we'll keep going through this. We'll give it a few more seconds. Excellent. We'll keep going to the next question. Next question. Do you have an internal training or phishing program in place? So yes, you do have something. No, you do not have any kind of program. Three, you're thinking about it, and it's good to think about things, but we don't want to think too long. And then yes, but not an efficient one. And we'll talk about what that looks like later on for a lot of customers that are coming over to us today. So we'll give you some time on that one. And then we'll go to the next one. How many hours a week does your organization spend on security awareness training? So 0, you don't do it at all. You don't need it. You don't think it's necessary. You think that your humans, your employees are perfectly fine. 1 to 3 hours, 4 to 10 hours, or 10 plus hours. And that it can include some of our customers that, before they came over to us, they were spending 20, 30, 40 hours in order to do this kind of stuff. And we'll talk about, the differences that we make when we use the Arctic Wolf platform for this. And then the final question, how often do your employees undergo security training campaigns? And so is it once a year? Is that enough? Is it once a quarter? Maybe once a month? Once every 2 weeks, which again, if you're building all of these things, it's going to take a lot of time to kind of send that out. Or at the last one, what's a training campaign? And you might laugh, but we do have organizations that just they don't understand what needs to be done. And so this is why you're here. If you don't understand, then we'll go through that. We'll give that a little bit of time. And I think we can jump into the first question.
I can't wait for these results.
Oh, fantastic. So how confident are you that your employees will not fall for a phishing attack? So I see that most people are somewhat confident. Others are very confident. I don't see that anybody, fully trusts the human element. And that's a good thing, because they are your weakest point of attack. And we'll talk about what that looks like, your weakest link. And not at all. That's a scary one. So having even any kind of percentage of, not confident, that becomes a problem. Let's go to the next result. Do you have an internal training phishing program? So we kind of have a split here. We've got more people that do have some sort of a program, whether they're kind of happy with it or not. We see that reflected in the previous answers, and then some of you I see are thinking about it right now. Andre, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, the question ultimately is, do you have an internal training and phishing program in place? And to be honest, most organizations that we've spoken to don't have one in place at this present time, which goes to say, how much do you really know about your employees in terms of what they know about security? More importantly, securing your corporate assets.
Yeah. And the next question, how many hours a week? So we're going between 0 hours to 1 to 3 hours. Good. And then the last piece,
Let's take
a look at how often do your employees undergo security training campaigns. For the most part, as we see with a lot of organizations out there, it's either once a year or once a quarter. And that 80% does tend to be a little scary. And we'll explain why that is as we go through. So before we go into the, explaining to you what Arctic Wolf does, Andre's going to talk a little bit about Carbon60 and how they do things and how we collaborate together to make you a more secure organization. Andre, over to you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Again, we're just going to go through a little bit of what Carbon60 does and who we are. So Carbon60 is an award-winning managed cloud company. We secure and transform companies into managed cloud environments. Essentially, Carbon60 started out in 1999, and as an infrastructure and security consultancy company here in Toronto, and we've evolved since then into a fully managed hosting service provider, servicing regional as well as national Canadian enterprises. And most recently, in 2021, we also acquired OpsGuru. They're an award-winning multi-cloud consultancy to help our customers adopt to cloud technologies, modernize their workflows, and also cloud-native designs. And more importantly, why we're here today, secure and optimize your systems and also your employees. Our 200 plus certified cloud consultants and engineers are certified in AWS, Azure, as well as security around Google Cloud, as well as Kubernetes, and to help ultimately our clients at any point within their cloud journey get some transformation into that cloud environment. So that being said, we're here to talk about managed awareness, which is one of the products that we offer, powered by Arctic Wolf. And over to you, Udi.
Just keep going here. Do you want to cover these two slides, or are you good?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have Canadian-based offices here throughout Canada. We have national data coverage, and we do have well over 20 plus years experience within, of course, obviously all of those cloud agnostic as well as environments ultimately. At the same time as well, we definitely do complement your IT team. So we can augment your IT team in many regards with, of course, manage detection and response, manage risk, as well as what we're here to talk today about, which is managed awareness.
Very good.
And last but not least, we offer a very robust set of managed security services. Everything from managed firewall to intrusion detection, managed security awareness training, which is what we're here to talk about with you regarding Arctic Wolf's product, which is, again, managed awareness, penetration testing, vulnerability management as well, web application firewall, managed endpoint protection, and managed SIEM. We also, of course, take care of managed detection and response, also another product that is also powered by Arctic Wolf, and as well as managed risk, multi-factor authentication, as well as security risk reports. All of these products are offered in terms of providing a 360-degree view, of course, obviously your architecture, your networks. And what we do is we look for an architect, along with, of course, Arctic Wolf, a solution that ultimately fits your business.
All right. And looking again at the services provided, it is the security awareness training, the managed detection and response, and the managed risk. Today, we will be talking about security awareness training. If you want, we'll touch quickly on the other two services throughout the presentation. If you guys do want to get additional information, you can always turn to Carbon60 and ask for those presentations, and we can either do a one-on-one or a one-to-many presentation. All right, so let's get going. I'll tell you a little bit about Arctic Wolf itself. We've been in the industry for about 10 years now, so we have that much experience. Originally, we were an MDR and XDR organization, being able to see the vulnerabilities within the organization, pick up on them quickly in an automated fashion, and then have that human element to help you out throughout, making sure that it's out of the way. We've got 1,800 plus employees, and that number keeps growing. Just for understanding, I started a little over a year ago, and back then we were about 800 employees. So we've grown very, very quickly. We've got SOCs throughout North America, whether it's based here in Canada in Waterloo, Provo, Utah, San Antonio, Texas, and now we also have a SOC based out of Frankfurt, Germany. We've got over 4,000 customers that are very, very happy with us. They all have 24/7 service. There is no like, oh, you get only the 8-hour service, you get the 24. Every single one of our customers gets that 24/7 attention, and we have a 97% retention. And the reason for that is the line below, is that concierge security team, which we'll talk about. It's 2 named individuals that are specifically assigned to your organization. They will walk you through your long-term security posture. They will become an extension of your team. They can work with you on reports. They can do presentations for you and so on. We've got proprietary technology, and I won't go too deep into that, but basically we don't leverage third parties, whether it's our SIM, whether it's our managed security awareness tools, it's all in-house. So as changes usually are being made to third parties, that usually makes the journey an unpredictable one, both in terms of cost and in terms of technology. Because we run everything in-house, it just becomes very predictable, hence a predictable pricing model. And we're 100% channel-led. So we work with our partners at Carbon60, delivering this service to you. We can deliver it as a resale opportunity, or we can deliver it in what we call an MSP or MSP Plus, which we can then work along with Carbon60 in order to deliver to you, understanding that Carbon60 delivers certain services to you at the same time. Andre, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, actually, you covered it very well, Eddie.
Very good. All right, so let's keep going, and let's take a look at managed security awareness. So when we go into any kind of organization, we understand that we need to watch their devices, we need to watch their networks, we need to watch their cloud. Almost every single one of our customers today has some sort of cloud footprint. For a while, we were watching their employees, but we have a really good understanding that the employees are the weakest link. And so we need to be very aware that these need to be somehow reinforced, that we need to make sure that the employees have an understanding of what's out there and how to act when they're being, maliciously attacked, when they're being phished, whether it's spear phishing or just randomized phishing. We need to make sure that they're aware of everything that's out there. Here are some statistics for you. Let's just keep going. We understand that people are targeted on a regular basis, and the problem is that they tend to forget anything that they're taught. They tend to forget. We see that 85% of data breaches are a result of some sort of human action, employee action. We also see that 80% of people tend to forget anything they learned within under a month, or 80% is forgotten. And then on top of that, we see that only 6% of organizations out there, so going back to that question that we had, hey, do you have something in place? We see that only 6% of companies actually have something effective. So you might have training within your environment, but it might not be effective. And we'll go through why that is and what that looks like.
It was also interesting that in that survey that we just did, there was a great number of people that said that they only do training once a year. Imagine what could be forgotten within that year as well.
100%. And we'll talk about what that looks like from a scientific perspective. Now, typical security training, we know that employees are regularly targeted. Again, targeted phishing attacks, just general phishing attacks. There's all kinds of stuff out there that we need to be aware of. Yet the problem is that for a lot of companies that we saw that 6% figure, that training is just not there and is not effective for many reasons. It's not for lack of trying sometimes. It's just that it's not set up properly and they're not getting the proper response and they're not getting people that where security, it's top of mind for them. And so the other piece of it is that memory recall piece. And basically, these employees are not prepared. And that becomes a problem because it really does become your weakest link. If we take a look at some statistics, we see that Toyota, they were actually attacked multiple times, successfully breached multiple times. And on the third time, the breach actually caused one of their finance people to wire transfer $37 million. And so if that individual can fall for that and is not properly trained, well, pretty much any employee is susceptible to any kind of phishing, any kind of malicious activity. We also see that Microsoft now says that there's about 30,000 daily attacks. And this is phishing simulations, phishing campaigns, as well as social engineering that can definitely compromise your environment, whether it's from a financial perspective, a digital perspective, and so on. Usually those are tied together. Andre, anything you wanted to add on that one?
Yeah, I was going to notice, well, that was actually delivered within 2021. And in 2022, those daily attacks have actually increased close to 200% fold.
Yeah, that's a good point. And again, these numbers keep on, unfortunately, increasing. Now, as some of you have said, you might have something in place already, and which is a good start. The problem that we see a lot of times is an operational issue. So if we start off from the employees themselves, we talk about friction. And when we look at what the employee needs to go through in order to access some of this training, some of them might need to go into a portal, and so they need to remember a username and password. They will need to click on certain things within the browser and try to figure out what they need to do. And if they need to spend any more time, that becomes a frictionful experience. They also have lack of reinforcement. So especially if you do this once a year, they forget everything. We'll talk about that forgetfulness shortly. But again, there's no additional training to reinforce whatever it is that they learned. And then on top of that, it's too random. And again, we talk about the frequency and the duration of these things. For a lot of organizations, as we saw during the questionnaire, it might be once a quarter or once a year, which again, the user just cannot remember all of these things. In terms of administration, it is time consuming. So we have a lot of companies that will buy some sort of a product, but then they actually need to put together the campaigns. They need to select the content. They need to stitch it all together. And that takes a lot of cycles. We just spoke to an executive that said, hey, I have an employee that is an IT employee and 50% of his time is now spent on this stuff. I didn't really want him to spend 50% of the time. And so I need something better, something more efficient. There's nobody to help. So you get the product. It is a tool problem then, where there's nobody to walk them through. Are you using the tool properly? Are you seeing the statistics and are you leveraging them properly? So nobody there. And we'll talk about how we do things differently. And then they require multiple vendors. So often we see customers that come in that originally had a training tool. they had a content tool, and then another phishing simulation tool. Maybe that's even broken down into multiple pieces. And so when that happens, there's no correlation between those things. So we have an effective security awareness program where we make this stuff better. Now, if we take a look at the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, it tells us that 80% of things that people are learning are forgotten within less than a month. And that gets pretty scary.
Those are just the operational issues, right, Uwe?
Yeah. So when Andre and I talked about this, we looked at things like work that's on your mind, and family, and finances, and health, and personal appointments, and groceries, and school. And it's not surprising that we forget 80% of the stuff that we learn. What we did find, though, is that if we reinforce, and this is the same study, shows that if we reinforce and re-engage on a 2-week basis, then the odds that that person forgets things are much lower. Also, they tend to learn a lot better as they're going through the content. And that's why we've set up, and we'll talk about, our engagement is every 2 weeks. As we go through the engagement, we start off with awareness. So we'll have a quick campaign that will be about 5 minutes in length. Yes, it is under that, it is under the 3 minutes, or over the 3 minutes, but it's a 5-minute campaign that will kind of make them aware of everything out there in the environment, still not too long, still understand what's out there. As we go through it, you'll see within the first month that behavior starts to change. And the really important part is that users, are aware of things that are out there. They're constantly getting trained now every 2 weeks, but they're also reporting things. And the biggest problem here is that they just don't, usually users today don't tend to respond, oh, shoot, I made a mistake. I don't want anybody to know. Now they're reporting things, and they're making the organization aware, reducing the risk. And we'll talk about that soon. And really, it's about changing that culture, creating a culture of people that are aware of issues out there, that are aware of things that might be going wrong and are helping each other out too. You get champions that kind of promote like good behavior. We'll just skip this quote just for the sake of time. Really, the understanding is that we want to end cyber risk. And the way that we do that is first reducing the likelihood of an incident. So that's why we train your users as well as possible in the most efficient way possible, and showed you like the most effective way of doing it is every 2 weeks in bite-sized manner. And really, once you do that, that's the way you reduce the impact of an incident, because now your users are actually blocking all of these attacks by just reporting them or just not clicking on these things. And this is really how we reduce cyber risk, at least from a human perspective. If we keep going, we'll take a look at the Arctic wolf difference. And so what we have here is the platform. As I mentioned before, managed security awareness is just one of the services that we offer. We also offer MDR, managed detection and response, and managed risk. Again, if you ever want to get more information, just turn to your Carbon60 rep. We'll be able to set an additional session on this. But really what we do from a managed security awareness, we take telemetry from your users. So whether it's through Active Directory, a bunch of different ways, but it's basically their email address and their user. We don't take their passwords. We don't take their user, like their regular user that they log in. So we don't have any of that information. We just are able to keep track of their users themselves. We track all the phishing simulations and quizzes and lesson participation within our Arctic Wolf platform. It's a fully automated platform. And we manage all of that through our concierge security team. So these are 2 individuals specifically assigned to your organization, and they will walk you through from an administrative perspective. They will let you know when certain people are falling behind on their training. They will let you know if they're clicking on anything, and they will come back to you with recommendations as to what should be done. Again, we've got additional services that we provide, and if you need, do turn to Carbon60, and they'll be able to walk you through that as well. Taking a look specifically at the managed security awareness solution, again, everything that we run is with the concierge security team, those 2 named individuals that will walk you through everything that is happening within your environment. You're never left alone. They're available to you whenever it is that you need for a call or whatever it is that you may need. We have automated phishing simulations, the kind of stuff that you would expect to see in terms of an email that comes in. Hey, click on here. The user might click on it. The big difference here is that the response to whatever it is that they do happens right there and then, and they can correlate what they did wrong if they did click on it. And I'll show you an example of it. We've got ongoing microlearning. These are 3-minute segments or less than 3 minutes, whether it's videos or quizzes. It doesn't take a lot of time. I can tell you that we get these internally. And when we do get them, I know that, hey, I can click on this, I can get it done with. They're also downright entertaining. So I get my kids, my wife to kind of watch these things. It never hurts. They actually ask to watch it as it comes along. We look at performance analytics. Again, the CST will walk you through, how your different employees are doing as a group, as individuals. We look at account takeover monitoring. So we go out onto the dark web and see whether your domains or your users are showing up on any kind of searches within the dark web. And has there been an infiltration? So we'll come back to you and we'll say, hey, this is what we found. This is what you need to do about it, both from a short-term perspective, but also a long-term perspective. So this might be a multi-factor authentication conversation, which Carbon60 will be able to help with as well. And then again, it's fully managed and friction-free. And when we talk about fully managed, it is that CST that's helping you out. We are sending out all that content so you don't have to build it. We do have a content library that you can pick and choose from. But again, we run it all for you, and friction-free. Again, the users get a note into their mailbox saying, hey, it's time to watch this content or run this quiz. The phishing simulations are automatically run, so it's pretty straightforward.
And on that note as well, Udi, you're talking about also identify, protection, and recover. So on the recover side, using an in-depth review, specifically for your personnel, right, to see ultimately whether or not they were exploited via social engineering.
Yep, correct. All right, I think we can go on from here. So this is what a microlearning campaign would look like. It's short 3-minute lessons. As you can see, the user gets a note, says, hey, it's time for your lesson. You go ahead and click launch. They don't need to log into any special portal. They don't need to enter credentials or anything like that. It will be tracked through that email. As soon as they go in, it will be tracked, and you will be able to tell. And I'll show you on the back end what that looks like. It does come on a regular cadence, and again, no needing to log in, so it's friction-free. In terms of outcomes, what we're looking for is higher participation rates because it is easy to access, and you can take it in. Again, it's entertaining. There's longer retention, again, because it's short bursts within short periods of time. And really what you want to get is improved behavior. And this is quickly what it would look like, but I'll show you a full example shortly. We do have the account takeover monitoring. As I said, we go out onto the dark web and see whether your domain and your users show up there. And then we do have security awareness coaching, where as a part of this service, our CST will walk you through the launch as we go through. They'll look at-risk employees. They'll give you additional recommendations in terms of content. What should be sent out? They will be able to track specific individuals within the organization, and obviously coach you through best practices and how to kind of talk to them, whether it's sending out that materials or having a conversation with them at the end of the day. So now it's time to take a look at what this would look like. So what you see here is the portal, the Managed Security Awareness Portal. We do see at the top left, it's called Secure Culture Dashboard. And that's exactly what it's about. We want to create a culture that is secure, a culture of employees that know that there's stuff out there, that know that there are security risks out there, that know that you shouldn't be clicking on the next urgent link that comes in that says, click this and let all those viruses in. So really, it is that secure culture. As you can see, it is color-coded, very easy to read. Here we see that there are 15% of, and again, it's in red, so we know that it's bad. 15% of sessions have been completed. We want to improve that, and that's what we will work on with you. We see that 83% of quizzes have been completed. 5% of failures, of phishing simulation failures, which is pretty good. That's why it's in green. And we understand it might never be at 0, but what we do want is that last piece, is that remediation on the right-hand side. And the more we're remediated, and I'll show what that remediation looks like later on, the better off we are. If we take a look at some statistical information, we can see, what was sent out, on what date, what hasn't been started, what's in progress, what's complete, and the average time it's taken to complete, both in terms of session statistics, quiz statistics, and phishing simulations. Now, I'm going to show you an example video. I will ask that I will tell you that it gets a little bit loud, so be ready. If you need to click on the volume button, please do so now.
Here, doing what I do, working remotely, like a whole lot of you. This time, we're talking about the cyber risk of using free public Wi-Fi. Derek, you're on the light switch, bro. You may recall the last time when we reviewed all the places you'll find free Wi-Fi.
Pretty much every store, restaurant, bar, club, hotel, motel, airport, train station, gas station, bike shop, coffee shop, and everywhere else in between got free Wi-Fi.
There are a lot of unsecure internet connections just waiting for your device.
You're out and about, and you just need to check on something at work. So you connect to free Wi-Fi.
No big deal, right? Wrong. There's a catch to using unsecure Wi-Fi connections that social engineers love to take advantage of. Others using the same connection can see the unencrypted data that you send or redirect you to a fraudulent website. But you're just working on a sales report, right?
All right, so that's what that looks like. I'm going to keep going just for the sake of time. This is what a phishing email would look like. And the whole understanding is that if a user does happen to click on that phishing link right over here, what they would get then is automatic response. And this is very important, where we see a lot of products that will end up creating a list of shame, and then, you know, a month or a quarter or a year down the road, these people will get some sort of supposed training. Problem is that's not effective. And you want to kind of thwart that right there and then. It will go through and it will say, hey, number one, you should have looked at where that's coming from, with the title, the urgency, the subject, the kind of link that's there. And so we'll point out to the different pieces in there. There will be an additional video that will walk them through and kind of give them a safe feeling that, yes, now they're aware. And you'll see that as time goes through, they become better at reporting these things and also not clicking on them. If we keep going, if we take a look from an administrative perspective, this is where you can turn things on and off. You can choose what days this will happen on. You can also go ahead and mute specific sessions. So if it's a busy time of the month and you know that you don't want them to deal with it, then yeah, you can go ahead and do that. This is where you can also send specific tracks. So we have a general track, but on top of that, we can send additional packs. So if you've got PCI compliance that you need to send tracks for that, or government or financial, whatever it may be, you'd be able to send that out through there. As I said, we go out onto the dark web and we look for any kind of suspicious activity regarding your domain, your users, or so if any of that shows up, we'll come back again with a recommendation that says, hey, we found that so-and-so users were compromised, go ahead and reset their credentials. So that makes it very effective. And again, this is something that the CST would work with you on an ongoing basis. We do have reporting, and that will give you a very good understanding, a general understanding of what happens, executive style reporting. And then finally, this is our content library where you can pick and choose what it is that you want to send, or if you want to go over specific content, we'll be able to do that. Just a quick quote by Gartner, and really what it says is that if you're going to do this, you better do this now. If not, you're going to become very inefficient in terms of being able to block this stuff out. And you need a good training program. You need an efficient training program that actually keeps things top of mind. In terms of how we would roll this out, so the program begins. We have a quick start session. That would be about 5 minutes in length. It lets the users know what's out there and available, what's out there in terms of malicious threats. We go on to microlearning, which is 2 times a month, 3-minute videos or quizzes. There's a variety of different formats. We have phishing simulation once a month, and again, they can be randomized. And then in terms of report card, the user will get feedback both right there if they do click on anything, but they will also get a monthly report card on how they're doing. And that's pretty much it. Let's go to the questions right now. So the first question I see is, if you're running phishing campaigns every month, how long do you run the campaigns for? 1 week, 2 weeks? So it's actually running, it will run once and will go to all your users. If they happen to click on it, then we will be able to track it. And then if we do see that certain users are falling for certain things, it is run once a month. We will be able to resend specific phishing simulations to specific users if need be. I see another question here. Does Arctic Wolf produce its own content? So yes, we have made an acquisition of an LA-based organization that produces Hollywood-level content. You saw an example of that here. There's all kinds of different content out there that we're able to send out, and you saw the content library that you can pick and choose from. Another question is, how often would we meet with your concierge team? So we meet usually once a month. It's something that the customer decides on when they want to have that meeting. But really, at the end of the day, if you need to pick up the phone to your CST and you get to know them by name, you have their phone number, and you need like ad hoc meetings, we can do that as well. Finally, the last question is, do we need to buy all 3 Arctic Wolf services together, or can we buy managed security awareness alone? So yes, you can buy them together. Yes, you can pick and choose from the different services. It is the same concierge security team that will handle everything within the organization, all the services. So that makes it very handy because they get to know your organization really well. Now, if you take a look at the additional resources on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see at the bottom of those resources, you've got the Arctic Wolf Security Operations Warranty data sheet. And really, in short, what that warranty means is that if you've got 2 or more of our services, you're guaranteed up to $500,000 US in warranty. So if in case anything happened, you'd get that financial backing. If you have all 3 services, then you get $1 million worth, which is quite worthwhile. This is something you can talk to Carbon60 as well as us about, but it does start to make sense to get those additional services kind of brought in together. So again, your CSD manages this as well as you've got that warranty then. And I think that's all I see in terms of questions. So I hope you found this helpful. If you guys want to get additional information, if you do have any questions, anything of the sort, feel free to reach out to Carbon60 and they'll be able to set up a meeting or just transfer those questions to us. And again, I thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Hey, everyone.